Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a really intriguing idea called the Sovereign Collaboration Protocol, or SCP.
Hmm.
In a world where, countries are increasingly focused on their own authority, their sovereignty, how do we still tackle the big global challenges?
Yeah, that's the question.
And SCP offers this potential answer, a way for the world to maybe work together without everyone having to follow the exact same rules from, like, a central command.
Exactly. We've basically spent a lot of time digging into the technical documents, the white papers behind SCP, to really bring you this deep dive.
Okay.
Our goal is to unpack the core thinking here and, well, explore if this framework can truly bridge that gap between needing international cooperation and this real growing emphasis on national sovereignty.
Right. So our mission today, pretty straightforward.
Mhm.
Understand how SCP aims to help nations, organizations work together while respecting their independence.
Yeah.
And the big question is, can we actually get meaningful global collaboration without that traditional top-down control? Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, if you think about how things have usually worked, right, for large-scale cooperation, the default has often been these big centralized institutions.
Like the WHO, WEF.
Exactly. WHO, the EU, NATO. They've all been crucial historically in hammering out agreements, coordinating responses to shared problems.
But it really feels like things are shifting, doesn't it? There's definitely more skepticism, maybe pushback towards those models now.
Oh, absolutely.
You hear more concerns about overreach and this real desire for countries to have more say, that core idea of sovereignty.
Precisely. And we see this pushback manifesting in different ways,
Mm.
like when global bodies promote specific values, DEI, LGBTQ plus rights, or push certain climate mandates.
Some countries see that as what? Stepping on their toes.
Yeah, potentially as an intrusion on their own cultural norms or their legal systems.
And you can kind of see their perspective, can't you? Countries have such different backgrounds, laws, cultures.
Totally different.
So the worry is that a one-size-fits-all approach from some global entity might just, well, undermine that autonomy.
And not just autonomy. Leaders face real political heat at home if they look like they're giving up too much power to, foreign influence.
Right. Okay, so these are big challenges for the old way of doing things.
They really are. And it's exactly this context that makes the Sovereign Collaboration Protocol, SCP, so interesting. It's positioned as potentially a whole new way of thinking, a new architecture for borderless collaboration, but crucially, without that central enforcement mechanism.
Okay, so if it's not top-down control, how does it actually work? How does SCP try to get countries cooperating? What are the core ideas?
Well, the core principles really lean away from that hierarchy.
Yeah.
It's more about encouraging bilateral, country to country or regional partnerships,
Okay,
collaboration between nations that maybe share specific interests or are just geographically close.
makes sense.
And it emphasizes something called sovereign compliant adoption, which basically means countries only need to implement the parts of a collaboration framework that actually fit with their own laws and values.
So not an all-or-nothing deal.
Not at all.
Mm.
And the third big idea is interoperable protocols.
Yeah.
Think less like one massive integrated system everyone has to join,
All right.
and more like different systems that can plug and play, like having different phone chargers but using an adapter so they can still connect and share power. It allows different systems to work together for specific tasks.
Okay, that adapter analogy helps. So instead of one giant platform, countries pick the bits they need, and those bits can talk to their own systems. Sounds much more flexible.
It's designed to be.
So what are the actual mechanics then? What are the key features that make this SCP thing tick?
The documents point to four main things. First, forkable protocols.
Forkable, like in software development.
Exactly like that.
Yeah.
Imagine a global body, say the WHO, publishes a basic template like pandemicpreparedness.v1.
Okay, a starting point.
Right. With SCP, a country can then fork this protocol, take a copy and start developing their own independent version, adding their own specific modifications.
So they grab the blueprint and customize it for their own house, basically.
That's a good way to put it. Then the second feature is modular adoption.
Modular, meaning pieces.
Exactly. Within that protocol, even the forked one, countries don't have to adopt the whole thing. They can pick and choose specific clauses or modules, only implement what actually aligns with their own laws, their own culture.
Wow, okay. That's super flexible. So a country could say, yeah, we like the data sharing part of this health protocol, but our rules on, say, public gatherings are different.
Precisely that level of granularity.
Yeah.
The third feature is transparent logging.
Logging, like keeping a record.
Yes, but here's the twist.
Mm.
Even though there's no central police force making sure everyone follows the rules,
Mm-hmm.
all the actions taken under a country's modified protocol, and any ways it differs from the original template, are recorded openly.
Openly, so anyone can see.
Well, the originating organization, like the WHO in our example, can observe these changes. They can see how different countries are implementing things.
Ah, okay, so it's transparency for accountability, not direct enforcement. Visibility, not policing.
That's the crucial difference. Observation, understanding, maybe learning, but not direct intervention or penalties. And the fourth key feature, AI agent execution.
AI agents, now it sounds futuristic.
A little, maybe.
Mm.
The idea is that these agreed-upon rules, the clauses a country chooses to adopt, would actually be operationalized, put into action by AI agents.
Okay.
But, and this is critical low, these AI agents are under the direct and sovereign control of each country.
Sovereign-controlled AI. Okay, this is getting complex. Can we walk through an example, like step by step, how might this actually play out?
Definitely. Let's stick with that infectious disease response idea. So, step one, WHO publishes its base protocol, pandemic preparedness.v1.
Right, the template goes out.
Step two, let's say the Philippines decides to use this. They fork the protocol, create their own distinct version.
Okay, Philippines pandemic prep.v1.
Something like that. Step three is modification. They go into their version and adapt the rules to make sure it fits perfectly with Philippine national law, maybe specific resource availability, cultural context.
Right, they tailor it. Adjusting reporting times, maybe how information is shared locally.
Exactly, tailoring it completely. Step four is where those AI agents come in. The modified protocol is then executed, managed, run by AI agents, owned and operated solely by the Philippine government.
So their own digital workforce carrying out their customized plan.
Within their own sovereign digital space, yes. These agents handle tasks, data collection, resource allocation alerts, information sharing, all according to the locally adapted rules.
And the final step.
Step 5, transparent logging. All those changes the Philippines made to the original WHO template and the actions their AI agents take during an actual health event, it all gets recorded and is visible, at least to the WHO.
So the WHO can see what they did, how they adapted it, even if they can't force them to do anything differently.
Exactly. And potentially other countries can see that too. Learn from the Philippines approach, maybe adapt their own forks. It fosters shared learning without coercion.
Okay, seeing it laid out like that really helps clarify things. It's a very different model. And presumably, this isn't just for pandemics, right? What other areas could SCP apply to?
Oh, the potential uses are really broad.
Yeah.
Think about those organizations again. The WHO could use it beyond just pandemics, maybe for coordinating vaccine distribution, where countries have vastly different logistics or cold chain requirements.
Or health alerts that need local tailoring.
Precisely. Or sharing public health guidelines that need adaptation for cultural practices. Then you take the WEF.
Right, the World Economic Forum. What about them?
They could potentially use SCP for climate action frameworks. Imagine a global goal, but countries use SCP to define their own specific targets and timelines within that framework, tailored to their economies.
Or maybe ESG reporting. Environmental, social, governance. That varies a lot by country.
Hugely. SCP could provide a base standard, but allow national variations in reporting or verification. Same for AI ethics, establish core principles, but allow cultural nuances. Even digital trade agreements may be using SCP for specific clauses adopted regionally.
Okay, that's a huge range already. What about security? Like NATO?
Yeah, for NATO, you could see SCP being used for sharing cybersecurity threat intel across member states with different systems, or protocols for joint military simulations where national rules of engagement need to be respected.
Even disaster response coordination?
Absolutely. Each nation contributes resources based on their own capabilities and legal frameworks, coordinated via an SCP template.
And even within a tightly knit group like the EU, where could SCP add value there? They already cooperate so much.
True, but even there, full harmonization is tough. Think about GDPR data protection. SCP could allow for national interpretations or specific enforcement styles within the overall EU framework.
Interesting.
Or digital identity systems respecting existing national ID setups while enabling cross-border recognition. Complex issues like migration or asylum protocols.
Where member states often have very different laws.
Exactly. SCP could provide a common structure for information sharing or processing while respecting those national differences. Same for cross-border labor rules.
It really does sound incredibly flexible. The potential reach seems massive. The white papers even float ideas like BRICS using it, ASEAN, the African Union.
GCC, OIO, even non-state actors like tribal nations collaborating,
Mm.
or specific cities making agreements, like Cebu and Johor Bahru on trade.
Wow. That's thinking really big.
It is. And the strategic advantages, if it works, are pretty clear for everyone involved.
Okay, let's bring those down for countries.
The biggest win is maintaining full sovereignty, period. They get to join global efforts, but strictly on their own terms, only adopting what fits their national interests and values. That opt-in nature could, potentially, lower the temperature on a lot of global tensions.
Less feeling forced into things. And for the big global institutions, the WHO, the UN, are they just facilitators now?
In this model, yes, more like facilitators and conveners, less like enforcers. But that could actually boost their relevance if countries are more willing to engage voluntarily.
They might get broader buy-in.
Exactly. They can still set standards, share best practices, but through influence and transparency, not coercion. It could lead to wider adoption, ironically.
And what about the tech side? The builders, what's the opportunity for them?
It's potentially a huge new field. Building and maintaining these protocols, developing the secure, auditable AI agent infrastructure that runs within sovereign control.
That sounds technically challenging.
Very. And ensuring the transparent logging is robust, reliable, tamper-proof. It basically creates a whole new digital backbone for diplomacy, built on this sovereign-first principle.
So looking ahead, what's the grand vision here? If SCP really takes off, what does the world look like?
Well, the aspiration is for SCP to become a kind of neutral, foundational layer for global governance, a bit like TCP/IP for the internet.
The basic rules of the road that let everything else connect and work.
Precisely. TCP/IP doesn't dictate website content, it just enables communication. SCP aims to be similar for international agreements, a basic protocol allowing diverse entities to coordinate without a central body dictating all the terms.
An internet for agreements. I like that.
The hope is this could help de-escalate conflicts by providing a voluntary way to agree. It could speed up sharing effective policies. Hey, see how they adapted that protocol? Maybe we can try that. And ultimately foster a more adaptable, sovereignty-respecting global governance.
It's definitely an ambitious vision, potentially transformative. So what needs to happen next to make this real? What are the immediate steps?
The documents lay out a few key things. First, finalizing the technical details, the V1 schema, the rulebook for SCP protocols, and building a working prototype, a reference implementation.
Getting the core text solid.
Right. And alongside that, building some initial templates for key areas, climateaction.v1, healthcrisis.v1, tradeagreement.v1, just to show how it works in practice.
Concrete examples.
Exactly. Then there's building the runtime environment for those sovereign AI agents,
Yeah.
the secure sandboxes they'll operate in within each country, plus a testing playground for organizations to experiment.
Makes sense. Need to test it safely.
And finally, launching a limited pilot, maybe with an academic institution or a civic group, to try it out in real collaboration and get feedback.
Okay, practical steps. One last thing. The name Sovereign Collaboration Protocol sounds very deliberate. Were there other options?
Yeah, the docs mentioned a few others were kicked around. Things like Intercoup Protocol, Collab Chain, Sovanet, COSOF. But Sovereign Collaboration Protocol really nails the core tension, right? It highlights sovereignty and collaboration. It states the problem and the goal right there in the name. The others hint at parts of it, but SCP felt the most direct and clear about bridging that sovereignty cooperation gap.
Yeah, it does encapsulate it well. Okay, so wrapping this up. SCP is fundamentally a shift, both philosophical and technical, moving away from centralized control towards voluntary, transparent cooperation that really respects national independence.
Precisely. The core idea is that maybe effective global action going forward won't come from top-down orders anymore. Maybe it comes from empowering individual nations with the tools to work together effectively on their own terms, respecting who they are.
It's definitely a compelling alternative model. It makes you think. If nations can selectively plug into global initiatives without giving up fundamental control, what new ways of cooperating might emerge? And maybe even new ways of competing. It's definitely something to chew on. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.